All right, everyone. So in the interest of time, we will get started officially. We hope that more people will join us as we are going through. I do know that the dance event that was happening at 7 o'clock was still going when I signed on for this. So hopefully some more people will join us. Otherwise, like I mentioned, we'll be recording this session. Well, it's already being recorded, but we are really excited to have our guests with us today, and I'm going to let them all introduce themselves as well. But I'm going to start by introducing myself. I'm Tori Colbin. I'm the Director of Alumni Relations here at Endicott College. Unfortunately, we can't be at Endicott College today. This would have been our kickoff to our homecoming and family weekend, but we had rebranded it for this current world that we're in as Homecoming and Family Weekend at Home. So welcome to my kitchen. I'm really excited to be here with all of you to join us and hear a little bit about what is going on with some of our really great alums who work together to put this on for us. So I'm going to start off and let them introduce themselves. I'm going to start with Justin.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us here tonight. Justin Negrotti, graduated at Endicott, undergrad class of 2009 with a business degree, financial concentration, and a minor in computer science. And I'm here tonight representing Channel Marker Brewing based in Beverly.
Great, thanks so much, Justin. And next we're gonna have Anthony introduce himself.
Hey guys, my name is Anthony Marnetti from graduated in 2013, and is my volume all good? Can you guys hear me? All right, good. Sorry, it's really loud in the worst spot possible, probably. I graduated 2013, business major until my junior year, and then I graduated sports management.
Thank you. Next up, we're going to have Mike tell us a little bit about himself.
Hey everybody, Mike Snowdale here. I graduated Endicott in 2007 with a business degree, finance focus, and I'm from Stellwagen Beer Company down in Marshfield.
Great, and last but certainly not least, we have Parker Olen with us, who will introduce himself a little bit too.
Hi, my name is Parker Olen. I'm from Mast Landing Brewing Company, one of the owners. I graduated in 2008 with a communications major and specifically media production.
Great, thank you so much. We are really excited to have been working with all four of you the last month or so on this particular event and a special project that we'll talk about at the end of this session, but we'll go back through all four of you. If you want to talk to us a little bit more about your individual brewery, I know a couple of you mentioned where it is, but tell us a little bit more about where it is, how many years you've been open, and just an overview of the brewery itself. If you do food service, anything else along those lines, let us know a little bit about what's special about each of your breweries. Justin, if you want to start.
Sure. So we opened our doors on January 5th of 2019. So this coming January will be our second year anniversary. We operate a 2-barrel brew house, which means we produce roughly 64 gallons of beer in a batch, which is not that much. We focus specifically on New England style IPAs and fruited sour beers. And we are located on the corner of Rantoul Street and Fayette Street in downtown Beverly.
Go ahead, Anthony, you can go.
All right, so I'm one of the co-owners of Faces Brewing Company alongside 4 of my siblings. We opened actually mid-pandemic, so June 15th, I believe, is the exact date we opened, just for outside, and then as inside opened, we opened later on. We were 3 years into planning and building in order to open. Obviously, it's not the most ideal situation, but pretty happy to be here, pretty lucky to be open and to be doing what we're doing. We're more of a restaurant than per se a brewery. We have a big space, so we have about 300 seats in a 10-barrel brewing system. And we're in Malden, Massachusetts on 50 Pleasant Street.
And Mike, if you can tell us a little bit more about Stellwagen.
Sure thing. So I founded Stellwagen. I'm one of the owners, and we opened in July of 2018. So we just recently had our 2-year anniversary. We operate a 10-barrel brew house, and right now we are technically a food service establishment, because of Massachusetts rules. But we have a very modest kitchen, and we're doing hot dogs, soft pretzels, just the quintessential beer meal pairings. So it's been going pretty well so far. And I forget if I mentioned it, but we're down in Marshfield in the South Shore.
I'm from Parker, one of the owners of Mast Landing. We opened, or we were founded in 2015, opened to the public in 2016. We are located in Westbrook, Maine, about 10 minutes outside of Portland. We are distributed 18 states right now, probably more like 10 regularly, some special drops here and there for other states. We have a food truck that we own on site, and currently right now with COVID restrictions, we are fully outside, but do cans to go and pours. But we're right now trying to figure out what we're going to do when it gets really cold.
Yeah, I can understand. I'm sure some of you are definitely doing that. Anthony's got 300 seats in his, but everyone else definitely. So going back through the same order that we just went through, could you guys talk a little bit about your individual role within the brewery? I know a few of you said that you're owners. I know that in some of our conversations, a few of you work a little bit more on recipes and some work a little bit more in marketing. So just talk to us a little bit about your role, how you got there, and what you do on a regular basis to help build your brand.
Sure. So on a day-to-day basis, my role is really to manage the finances of the brewery. So managing the bookkeeping, managing ordering, purchasing, paying bills, making sure cash flow is there, those sorts of things. In addition to that, I'm responsible for business development. So by title, I'm the head brewer here at Channel Marker. I have 2 equal business partners. One of them is another Endicott alum who graduated in 2012, Jake Crandall. He manages our day-to-day brewing operations. So really I'm creating the recipes, handing it over to Jake. He's executing on the brewing system. And then really from packaging or from production to packaging, him and our other business partner, Tim Corcoran, are responsible for making sure that the beer gets brewed and then ultimately into the hands of our customers.
Great. Thanks, Justin. Anthony?
I'm more in operations management. So really the day-to-day, as of right now, I'm managing tonight. Not right now, but typically. And as far as that goes, it's usually like liquor and wine ordering and just basically anything that could possibly go wrong throughout the night. We do a little bit with brewery management. We don't tell the brewers what to brew, but what we know sells is kind of just like what we get our mindset. Like we'll tell the brewers basically, hey, this is selling more. Can we brew that this week? And so on.
So. So my role at Stellwagen is, kind of similar to Justin's. I'm the president and I manage all the finances, I should say. My brother, who is one of our partners, is in charge of sales and distribution. We self-distribute in a relatively small radius around our brewery. So he is out there, developing relationships with our accounts, taking orders, delivering beers. My third partner is Brian, and he is our head of brewing operations. So I work with Brian on recipe development, but the majority of that I rely on him for. And, pretty much other than, the finances and keeping the lights on, You know, we've been fortunate that we've been able to build up our team not quite a bit, but build up our team over the last few years. And, you know, right now I just kind of fill in where needed, whether it's on the production side, the packaging side, the taproom side, or delivering beers, whatever the case may be. A little bit of everything. Always interesting.
And Parker?
Yep, I think very similar to everyone else. Being a smaller company, you do wear a lot of hats. Technically I'm brand strategy, but that really encompasses everything from marketing, design, photography, even consumer experience in the, or everything consumer facing, but as well as like the experience in the tasting room. As well as a little bit of HR here and there, but my favorite part of the job, and I'd say that what I have my hand in the most is marketing and design. I feel that I'm a designer, you know, first, and everything else second, and you know, really my favorite part of the job is being able to design labels or merch or anything like that. But really, it goes a lot further than that.
Great, thank you. Now, Parker, kind of back right at you with a quick question. How do you go about your branding and design for Mast Landing? You know, do you guys talk about it? Do you spearhead it? How did you find what was going to be your brand, and how do you stick with that moving forward every day?
Well, it's kind of funny you ask, because just recently this week I was like, you know, we've been open for just over 4 years now, and I'm like now just getting comfortable and feeling like we've, you know, figured out what our branding is, and you know what our labels should look like, and it's all coming together now. So that's been a lot of fun over the past 4 years to be able to, you know, be front and center, to be able to kind of guide that and steer that direction. But yeah, I think there's a lot of different things that have to do with branding. Those beer names, you know, labels, merch, event posters, even, you know, social media, photography. And it's kind of almost like I'll give it a direction, and, you know, get ideas from everyone, even though, you know, our president, who is a CPA, he'll give ideas, or, you know, our marketing director, who is, you know, a copywriter, will give ideas, or we'll bounce ideas off of everyone. And it's kind of all our experiences, as well as just, you know, our passion for beer, helps kind of guide, you know, where we go. And then I kind of am the one that brings it all together.
Well, that's great. It sounds like it's a really fun job that you definitely seem to be passionate about. So
it
yeah.
definitely is my dream job. So I feel very lucky.
Great. Awesome.
Something I did right.
Awesome. Now I'm going over to Justin to talk a little bit more about the recipe development, if you will. I know you said that you come up with it, you give it to Jake, he does the brewing, but how do you actually come up with a recipe for a new beer? And what does that entail for those of us who just like to drink beer but don't know that about the process?
I would say drinking beer is probably the most important part of recipe development. If anyone disagrees here, speak up, but I'm just kidding. Honestly, a lot of it has to do with definitely tasting a lot of beer, being focused on specific styles, particularly New England style IPAs, double IPAs, and fruited sours. You know, we tend to go out and do as much market research as we can. And market research doesn't just mean drinking beer. Parker's laughing. It also means just doing a lot of reading, which I try and do as much of as I possibly can. So there's lots and lots of papers that are coming out on, you know, a monthly basis from different hop providers and maltsters on, you know, how different, you know, hop combinations react under different temperatures and that sort of thing. And being a small brew house like we are, we're fortunate that we can kind of test batch quite a few different variables relatively quickly and determine what works and what doesn't. So I like that scientific element of it and being able to experiment and try different variables and see how the public reacts to those changes that we make on recipes in small doses and how those ultimately affect the finished product.
Well, it definitely sounds like it's a lot of studying to make it right.
Yep.
Next up, we have Anthony. So one of the things that I would love for you to talk a little bit more about, and yes, in the sense of a brewery, but what's it like to own a business with your siblings? Does that go well? Have you found trouble with it? We have, especially when it comes to a lot of our alumni, they're in different family businesses. So we'd love to just get your take on it and how it turned into a brewery.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Obviously, I see them all the time as is, and now I see them all the time even more. So it's, in a way, we're very lucky. Obviously, it's like any relationship, there are disagreements, but for the most part, I mean, it's like Parker said, wearing different hats. All of us have different skill sets from different things we've done over the years. My brother Dan really was the key behind the mechanical design behind the brewery, the plumbing, everything that went into this building. And then I did most of the design and the aesthetics. And then I had a younger brother, Bob, who did majority of the social media, marketing, and that kind. So, I mean, I think what's nice is that you have so many different facets of this company that you can't possibly do it all yourself or try to figure it out or learn how to. So we're super lucky that every single one of us has like a different skill set where they can apply that to a part of this business. And it takes a lot of weight off your shoulders to not have to try to do everything and try to learn how to do everything. So, and especially because we don't brew beer. When we first tried to get into this, we wanted to open a bar. We were like, we wanted to open a brewery. And of course we did what everyone else does. We bought a home brew kit. We went home, we brewed the beer, and we're like, okay, that tastes like beer. No one's going to buy it, but it tastes like beer. So we had met up with a family friend of ours that we ran into who was looking to open a brewery, been home brewing for 7 years. And honestly, just like a perfect situation, just like fell into our hands, and here we are. So.
Well, thanks so much for sharing. It sounds like you get some definite quality time with your siblings there as you go into this new venture. We're going to take it over to Mike Snowdale, who really, I'm just curious if you could talk to us a little bit more about owning and starting the business. Tell us a little bit about what that looked like and what does it actually take to open a brewery? What are some of the things that you have to think about, or what are some of the things that you didn't think about that you didn't realize until you were right in the thick of it? I think that we'd all love to know.
How much time do we have?
Well, you've got at least 40 more minutes.
Hours, Mike. Hours.
Right.
I'm here all night for you.
All right. Yeah, I'll try to compress that down. So, I mean, there's a ton to think about. For me, opening a business or starting my own business was never really something that I ever thought I wanted to do. I just wanted to break into the industry, and it got to the point where starting my own brewery was kind of the only way to do it. So, it's a whole combination of a lot of different components. Beer happens to be a pretty heavily regulated industry. I came from, the world of investment servicing, which maybe was even more heavily regulated than beer. So I was at least comfortable with dealing with, compliance and regulations. Had to learn a lot about what the regulations in the beer and brewing industry were, and I'm still learning what they are. Obviously, they're changing all the time. So there's that component of it. There's, funding it. I'd written one business plan in my life, and it was at Endicott in an entrepreneurship class. And, that was 14 years prior to when I had to start writing a business plan for Stellwagen. So fortunately, it wasn't the first one I ever had to write, but I had a lot of refreshing to go through. So, I did a lot of Googling and tried to rely on some people who had opened businesses in the past. Parker can tell you that, you know, if you happen to know somebody in the industry, you have a lot of questions for the people that have done it before you. And I'm lucky to have a good network of a lot of successful people, and I relied on them a lot. And I don't know. Then there's trying to get people to buy it. So it's like I was like, all right, I think social media is a pretty important part of this. Like, it seems like everybody's got Instagram and Facebook, and I didn't know how to use any of those things. I mean, I have a Facebook account and I like follow the Patriots on Twitter, but before the brewery, that's all I used it for. I had to have my wife teach me how to use Instagram and, you know, like take pictures that look nice. And then as we got a little bit more mature, we, you know, I got better at it, and I started being able to outsource that to people who are actually good at it too. So, you know, making sure you surround yourself with people who are better at things than you is pretty important also. I don't know.
Well, thank you for sharing. No, that was definitely condensed, but you got a lot out of it. And I'm glad to hear that you did have some Endicott experiences that helped you out with this. I'm
For sure.
letting everyone else in the group answer that same question in whatever way you see fit, just in the sense of what did it take you to open the brewery or to get involved in the brewery, and if there's anything else that you were super surprised at, or any other Endicott things that really helped you in what you did. We can start with Justin.
Sure. I'm sure Mike can appreciate this. You know, thinking back to my Endicott undergrad days, Dr. Musakia's finance classes were some of the hardest that I ever took. Some of the hardest days I can remember from, you know, studying in my life. And those were lessons that definitely carried through for me as we were going through the process of working on a commercial bank loan. If you're ever trying to convince a bank to, you know, make an investment into an unproven business by folks that don't have experience in the industry that they're trying to open a business in, it's incredibly difficult. And having the knowledge and spreadsheets that he put us through back in undergrad 10 plus years ago, those were certainly lessons that carried through for us as we were trying to forecast out what a balance sheet, what an income statement, what a cash flow statement looked like, and were really important in us obtaining our commercial loan. So those were definitely lessons that we carried through and still do to this day. Also, I think, you know, for those that studied entrepreneurship, that wasn't something that I studied at Endicott, but going back, I wish I did. I always thought that I would want to own my own business someday, but never thought that the entrepreneur program was something that I would want to do, and definitely something that I would definitely take advantage of today. You know, for those that own their own business or want to open their own business, it's definitely crucial to understand not just financing, but, you know, some of the stuff that Parker's talked about, marketing, sales, front of house management that Anthony's doing. Like, all those things matter, particularly in the hospitality and restaurant industry.
Well, thank you. Parker, Anthony, do you guys have anything that you want to share to this question?
Well, I just thinking about, you know, my time at Endicott and more specifically after, what led me to being, you know, at Mast Landing Brewing Company. There was a lot of other alumni and connections that I made through the company, through the college, that not only helped me get, you know, jobs at other companies and other, you know, ad agencies, as well as, you know, marketing companies, that ultimately, you know, gave me the experience and the, you know, the competence to be able to actually originally go out on my own to start my own marketing company, which connected me with Mast Landing as it was starting up, and then eventually, you know, being asked to become an owner. So I do, you know, I do think that, or strongly believe that, you know, what, you know, the relationships and, you know, the start that Endicott gave me absolutely, you know, pushed me and brought me to where I am today. And, you know, I feel very fortunate for that.
Great, thanks for sharing. Anthony?
Yeah, just to add a bit to that, I think Mike hit it on the head with networking. It's vital. I mean, when you open a business for the first time, there's no key or formula to being successful. So it's really just asking people who are successful already, like, how do you do it? Like, what did you do? What did you see that happened right when you opened? What were the questions that you asked people? You know, sometimes you don't even know the right questions to ask. So it's really just finding those people in your network and asking them and reaching out to them. I mean, I know I talked to Justin a bunch of times previous to us opening, even asking him some questions. And it could be little things, they could be really stupid too. It doesn't matter. It's you can learn from everyone, and everyone in this community is so tight knit that they're more than happy to help people. And it's one of those things now where you look at, we all got together and brewed a beer. So it's like, you know, these things will last forever. So it's really about asking questions. And then, and to go back to when I graduated, I worked at a bowling alley that my family owned for years that my brothers already were managing at, and that place was already successful. So for us to open this place was like, well, we went into a business that was successful. How do we make this one successful? Like it's already been done. How do we do it on our own? And that's what was tough. But like I said, asking questions makes you feel a lot more comfortable in the position you're in. So.
Great advice, thank you. So next, one of the, I guess, topics on probably everyone's mind right now, one of the main reasons why we unfortunately aren't on campus celebrating all together. How, because we know it did, how did COVID affect each of your businesses? I'm sure that there's a number of differences, just knowing a little bit about each of your breweries, of some of the challenges that you guys have had to go through and that are continuing to go through, especially as the winter months start coming. I know that there's a lot of restrictions going on right now, but just share with us a little bit about what it's been like for you and your business and what your next steps might be if you know those yet. We'll start with Justin.
Sure. So interestingly enough, Governor Baker announced just this week that they're going to be expanding seat capacity, which I imagine is going to help folks like Mike and Anthony who have, and hopefully Parker, if Maine expands their indoor dining. For us here at Channel Marker, we went pretty small to start. So we have approximately a capacity of about 50 people indoors under normal circumstances. We've been operating a 36-seat outdoor patio space adjacent to our building once Governor Baker allowed outdoor seating. So our hope is that we can bring indoor seating back in some capacity safely, of course. It will not be in the same capacity that we were operating in pre-COVID due to the social distancing that's required. For us, we ended up making an investment into a canning line thanks to some angel investors, which really has allowed us the ability to package our own beer and not rely on outsourcing to a third party, which we had been doing during most of COVID. That ability to can our own beer has ultimately opened some doors for us into packaging more beer on a consistent basis. And we're hopeful that that's going to allow us to continue to grow and to flourish in the coming months.
Great. Well, thank you. It sounds like that's been going pretty well for you, and, you know, a change, but a good change, especially to get you over this next bump. Anyone else want to share on how it's been affecting them and their establishment?
Well, I'm not sure in Massachusetts, but in Maine, we were able to start delivering beer directly to customers' houses. So right when you know, kind of COVID hit in March, we started we started selling our beer online as well, so people could pick it up and, you know, purchase online. Come, you know, we would drop it off in the trunk of their car, but also we started delivering, and we had a schedule where, you know, 30 miles north, south, west, you know, you could get it delivered to your door 5 days a week, depending on the schedule. So that was huge delivery, and we since purchased the delivery van. We were keeping it going. I know a lot of places stopped doing that in the summer, but we're just assuming we're going to need to pick that back up in the winter, as you know, brewery tasting rooms in Maine still haven't been able to go and have indoor seating. So we're going to get a couple heaters, see if people still want to come out and drink some beer in the cold. But you know, we're ready to, you know, we were doing pretty good or pretty well with just doing to-go cans and delivery through the winter. So hopefully if we can get to, like, you know, December, we'll be in good shape to, you know, to push through to the spring and you know, towards, you know, warmer weather again.
Great. Anthony or Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I think probably the same as everyone else is that it's really just like learning how to pivot your business entirely. For us, since we had pre-COVID 300 seats inside, we were like, we need to make sure production is based heavily towards kegs so that we can serve the restaurant patrons. And when COVID hit, it was like, all right, let's go the complete opposite way. We need to can a ton of beer. So we weren't planning to can beer, which brings us to Justin saying that he just bought a canning line. So, I mean, it's one of those things where we didn't buy a canning line because it wasn't in our business plan originally. And we still haven't bought one. We use a service that provides it for us. But it's one of those things where you just kind of have to pivot day by day. I mean, even on Monday, like Justin was saying, Governor Baker's allowing 10 people per table and bar service as long as the bar staff is working more than 6 feet away from you. So it's like, you know, we had our first plan of opening up outside, and then you have to pivot to opening inside. And now we get to pivot to more people at tables, and now pivot to bar service. So it's kind of like making sure that your workers are happy too, because you're putting them through a lot with, hey guys, this is what you're doing today. Oh, actually, this is what you're doing tomorrow. Oh, so fortunately, we've had some awesome workers for us, and we've gotten really lucky. So it's just kind of having to work through the kinks on the way up. So
That's a really great management point.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
We're kind of in the same boat. You know, when we started, you know, pre-COVID, most of our business was done right from the brewery. We do have some distribution accounts, but you know, 70% of the beer we sold was right out of the brewery. So when you know, when COVID hit, we transitioned immediately into packaging everything from you know, from whatever our split of kegs versus cans was. It just went 100% to cans. And you know, we weren't, you know, fortunately we had a pretty good split of on-premise and off-premise accounts. So, you know, we were able to kind of pick up the slack sending beer to off-premise accounts, whereas, you know, the on-premise accounts, unfortunately, they were all closed. So, you know, it was cans out of the brewery, cans out of the cans in the distribution side too. So, you know, and as kind of restrictions have eased up a little bit, we've been allowed to let people back in the tap room. We've seen some trends where beer going out the door in cans is, you know, slowing down a little bit, but, you know, all of a sudden keg, you know, draft beer is picking up. So it's, it'll be interesting to see what happens this fall and winter when the weather does start to get a little bit colder. You know, if people get that mindset where they're going to, you know, just tough it out and be rugged and go out and know full well that they're going to have to sit outside in their jackets and gloves, and hopefully wherever they visit has good heaters.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all for sharing a lot of really good information, a lot of really great experiences. I think that everyone here is definitely more knowledgeable in what it takes to open or run or be a part of a brewery. One thing that we would love to make note of, and I'm going to let Justin introduce this idea since it was his to begin with, and we're really excited to have been a part of it. And Parker, I'm sorry that you weren't able to at this exact moment, but
Well,
we'll get one in the meantime.
Right after your beer release, I'm sorry, but it was like, and then finally I was allowed to come down legally.
Well, we'll have to make another one work. But in the meantime, for those of you on the call who don't know, I'm going to let Justin talk about the exciting thing that we are talking about.
Sure. So when Tori had reached out to us about participating in the virtual homecoming event, I thought it would be just a really good idea to invite those alumni who we were aware of to come down to our brewery in Beverly and brew a collaboration beer. For those that are in the industry or those that aren't, we feel that collaboration beers are just a really great way of, one, getting to know people in the industry, and two, just learning about other processes and techniques that others employ. So we ended up brewing a beer. I don't know if you guys can see this. It's called A Great Day to Be a Gull. Mike, we're going to send you, and Parker will send you up some cans in the next few days, cold wrapped. But you know, one of the things for me graduating from Endicott was really trying to get back in touch with alumni. Haven't had a whole lot of opportunities to do that in a professional setting, but I thought this was a great opportunity to do that. So we invited Mike, Anthony, all their respective business partners to come down to our brewery in Beverly and brew up a collaboration beer. So we settled on a name that we think is aptly fitted for the occasion, A Great Day to Be a Gull. It is an 8% double IPA. It is hopped with 3 varieties, Citra, which we recommended, Zythos, which Anthony and his group brought to the table, and then Vic Secret, which Mike and his partners brought here. So I've been drinking it tonight. It tastes to me like grapefruit juice. It's
Fantastic.
a hazy New England style double IPA. I'm very excited to send these boxes out to Mike and Parker and get their tasting notes. And looks like John would like some as well. We'll make sure that he gets some. But you know, very, very excited to have these guys in. We learned a lot from both of these operations, and we look very much forward to the day where Parker and his crew can come down and participate in the next one.
And hopefully next year we could add in more breweries and more entrepreneurs.
Yeah, absolutely. If there's other breweries that I missed or did not think of, you know, we're all Endicott family here. We would love for everyone to participate in a collaboration brew. It would be great if we could make this kind of a yearly event. Would love nothing more than to engage with other alumni who are in the industry. I'm sure Mike, Anthony, and Parker all feel the same way. So if there's others that are out there in the brewing or restaurant industry, reach out. Be great to get a little cohort going and just share notes. I think Anthony mentioned there's nothing better than, and Mike and Parker, you know, there's nothing better than friendly networks who can share and compare notes and offer help when needed.
That's awesome. I'm really excited. I can't wait. Hopefully next year we'll be in person. We can do a beer tasting. We can have you at our beer garden that we started last year. It was such an awesome time out in the softball field. So as much as we can do to support for you guys next year would be really, really awesome. And I know one of the last things that we'd love to do before we wrap up for the evening is see if there's any questions from all of our participants. And I know that Melody's got a couple that were sent along to her that she's going to share to the group. And anyone else, please feel free.
Great job, guys. So I do have 2 questions that were submitted while you were chatting. And so this first one is coming in from Las Vegas. And it says, here in Las Vegas, the number of local breweries has exploded. We love it, but I'm getting curious if you guys have found a way to get your local products distributed nationally other than through direct mail.
Well,
so whoever wants to answer.
Well, I think that other than Mike, really, or actually, I'm the only one that's going out of state. But we're Mast Landing. We partner with distributors all throughout the country, 18 different states. So, yeah, pretty much the entire East Coast, and then sporadically throughout all the way over to Oregon. But yeah, our plan is grow and expand to different states as as organically as possible. But definitely going back to the COVID subject, that having a good distribution network and being at the size we were was very helpful. But it caused us to open more states a little bit sooner than we had thought so or thought to. But we use distributors throughout the country, and we get emails and messages all the time, from people in different states that we aren't in yet. And I think that for all the guys here and every brewery, whenever someone definitely make it known if you want their beer in your state, because the more they hear that or more we hear it, it definitely helps.
Awesome, thank you. Is there anyone else that wanted to answer that as well, or are we good with what Parker had to say?
Well, this is Mike. I would just add, it's cool, that the day and age we're living in, there's kind of some non-traditional ways that businesses are starting to find to get their beer out there. Occasionally, we partner with a company that's based on the Pacific Northwest, and they own an app that through the different regulatory loopholes that they're able to get through in Washington State, they're able to actually ship beer directly to customers. And we occasionally will send beer out to them, who then distributes it out to,
Smart.
I think there's 36 states that they are allowed to send beer directly to customers in. So, once a month we may send them a couple dozen cases.
We use that too. It's a really cool service, and it's cool. It's through an app. It's Tavor, right? Or Tabor,
Yep.
or Tavor. I don't know.
Tavor, yeah. Yep.
What's it called?
They run a really good company, and definitely would recommend it to everyone to use, and as a consumer as well as a brewery.
Awesome, thank you. And now we know the inside scoop on how to get beers from other states. I will say another person just wrote in to say that they can't wait to try this collaboration and they wish they could be in Beverly this weekend. That was to Justin. And then another question that came in was, did any of you convert to producing hand sanitizer during the last couple of months? I think we all saw a lot of different distilleries, breweries move to doing this. It was definitely interesting to see, and we'd love to know if you guys did as well.
The first beer we actually brewed was brewed and it got oxygenated and it was destroyed, and we almost made it into hand sanitizer, but we ended up, that was the closest we came.
So almost.
In Maine, we donated a bunch of beer. Like when COVID hit, we had a bunch of kegs that were going to, because all the restaurants shut down, we had a bunch of kegs that were going to code out and not be able to be consumed. So we donated. A lot of distilleries in Maine were asking for donated beer, and so I like to think that some of our beer, helped clean your hands. So
there you go. Awesome. Did anyone else have anything to say about that? Great. Another question that we had is, in the food industry, there are trends like bacon, avocados, cupcakes. We've all seen those over the years. Are there also trends in beer with tastes or how it's made? I don't know a lot about beer, but be interested to know.
As Justin finishes his hazy IPA.
Yeah, he was laughing.
Hazies. I'll take that. So I would say certainly in the Northeast, we've seen just an explosion of breweries gravitating towards producing what we consider in the industry to be New England style IPAs or hazies. So those are the opaque, juicy, kind of fruit forward beers, IPAs that tend to be less bitter and just more juicy than the West Coast counterpart that most people have come to consider an IPA to be associated with. So we tend to brew that style. We tend to brew styles here at Channel Marker that we enjoy drinking. So that's definitely on the New England style. For better or worse, the beers that we've become known for here at Channel Marker are the fruit forward sour beers. Which basically means we're producing a beer that we introduce a bacteria to, and over the course of a few days, that beer becomes sour to taste, which actually has a lot of people have gravitated towards in recent years, which is great. And then we introduce different fruits depending on what's in season to the beer, both during fermentation and post-fermentation. So a lot of the fruit that we're introducing ends up carrying through to the finished product. So one of the beers we came out with today was a beer we fruited with blackberries, raspberries, blueberries, and strawberries, all post-fermentation. So the color is very red. It reminds people of fruit juice. And, we've been able to kind of reach out to a market segment that, traditionally hasn't loved beer, as they say when they come through our doors, but have enjoyed the taste of a sour beer that, really doesn't have a whole lot of hop character to it and is more fruit forward and tart in nature, more akin to a wine.
Interesting.
I can add a little bit of something which was like completely different from the brewing side from when I used to bar manage. Was there were so many trends of stouts are just for the winter and sours are just for the summer. You're starting to see now sours are year round. And you're starting to see a couple more stouts come out in the summer, very rarely. I mean, they're strange styles, but I think people want to drink everything now and they don't care when it is. Obviously, like Justin was saying, like hazy IPAs, yeah, people are going to drink those all year round, no matter what in New England. It's just going to happen. But the fact that sour beers have stuck around this long is kind of surprising because it was such a small trend that happened immediately, and now it's just like taking over everywhere. Like everyone has at least a sour beer on draft at all times, year round, which is kind of new. So
That's great insight, especially if you have that other experience of working behind a bar with more options. And then I had one other question come through before I open it up to see if anyone wanted to turn on their mic or camera to ask, which is, so we've had a bunch of wine events as the alumni office, and we're always learning at that event from a professor that runs it, Peter Jenner, that millennials buy wine based on branding. And so, I remember when my parents would go to someone's house, it's like, oh, we brought a bottle of wine, and people kind of understood if it was a nicer bottle or not, just by looking at it somehow. But now, beautiful branding doesn't equate to high quality. So I'm just interested, is that a trend in beer, not about if it's not high quality, but more so about how people buy beer when they look at it on a shelf or when they come in? Are they buying based on how the branding looks? Or is it more they really know what's in it and what they love?
Parker, that's all you.
Parker, that's you, man.
Yeah,
I thought I was done talking tonight. No, absolutely. And I like to have fun with it sometimes, and especially with collaboration beers where you can get a little bit more creative. We've done some like retro, like Nintendo themed or Sega themed, or we just released a beer with a brewery in Massachusetts that was like Paul Pierce Celtics themed, and people really like. You could put like, to be honest, you could probably put like fizzy water in it and people would buy it anyway, just for the label. And they say that, and they're like, and it's fun to see like when people with an app that you can check beers in online, people will be like, I bought this beer for the label, but the beer is actually really good too. So you're like, I feel like when that happens, I've done my job and the brewers have also done the job. So I think that it is a lot of fun, and it's rewarding when the beer and the label or the branding are both really are well received, and it definitely I take that into consideration, especially also if I'm brewing an IPA or we're brewing an IPA in the summer. I definitely think about what is going to make people want to grab that off the shelf before they go to the beach. Or in the winter, maybe something that's a more winter themed, because we release a lot of one-off IPAs and not so much a seasonal beer, but beer during different seasons. And it's a huge part of selling beer, especially when you are selling it into more stores or more states.
That makes a lot of sense. That's awesome. I know I definitely buy. I love a good branding moment. So you're right, probably about the fizzy water. And then we actually had another question come in while you were answering that. So this person said, I can see that most of you graduated more than 10 years ago. Did Endicott have the same 3 internship requirement that the school has today? And did any of your internships involve the brewing industry?
Yeah, at the time there was definitely 3 internships required. Did I graduate the longest ago? I did. So yeah, we had to do 3. Definitely didn't have any internships related to brewing. I'd say the closest, this is a stretch. My first one when I was 18, I got the opportunity to go over to London, and the drinking age was lower. So I don't know. I did a lot of drinking while I was over there too. So that helped. I got to experience beer from a different country at an
Market
early
research.
age because of that. Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
Yep, I definitely had I had to do 3 internships, freshman, sophomore, and senior year. Thankfully, one of the internships that I had my freshman year was related in part to food and beverage. It was for a hotel asset management consultancy company here in Beverly that ultimately got my feet wet into food and beverage and kind of piqued my interest. So very early on had exposure to that. Didn't really touch it until we really started getting into the business planning side of the brewing operations. But definitely, you know, those 3 internships definitely played a part in the business planning side of things.
My first job, it wasn't an internship, but my first job out, like I'd say real job out of after Endicott was at actually another alumni owned business that it was a beer and liquor marketing and promotions, which kind of got me into the industry of, marketing alcohol and really, gave me a passion for doing that, which led me to another company that also did that. And then my connection with my partners that were starting Mast Landing. So I do feel like, even though it wasn't an internship, that, the Endicott connection was definitely there to steer me in the direction of owning a brewery.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for sharing, and thank you all for such great, thoughtful questions that Melody helped relay. Before we officially wrap up for the night, Melody is going to share her screen and do a fun little giveaway for our guests tonight. We are giving out a gift card from Channel Marker so that for the next time you are in town coming into campus that you can support Justin and his business. And then we are hoping to, Melody, you can share at any point, but we are hoping to start doing some virtual beer tastings that will, I hope, turn into in-person beer tastings with definitely these 4 breweries. All right.
Awesome. Can everyone see the wheel?
You can.
Great. We're going to click to spin. Drum roll, please.
Woo!
John won. Congrats, John.
Awesome.
Rigged. It's rigged.
John, you're not going to be able to buy any of the collab beer. I hate to tell you, but it sold out. Sold out about 2 hours after we opened doors today. So we'll be hopefully brewing that again soon.
Yes. And John will get you all of that information. And like I said, everyone, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to Mike, Anthony, Parker, and Justin. We obviously couldn't have done this event without you. You guys are rock stars. I have not been to all of your breweries, so I can't wait to get there and try all of your beers as well. I have to say right now I've only had Channel Marker, but I will get there. Thank you again so much, and I hope you all have a really, really great night.